nocturnal journey of the Prophet and time and space. बड़ा complicated सा, complex सा, and it is kind of a dry topic because we have to deal with time and space in relevance to मेराज, क्योंकि मेराज की समझ तब तक नहीं आती जब तक आपको टाइम और एंड स्पेस जो है इनका सही शऊर ना हो। मैंने कुरान की एक आय मुबारक पढ़ी है जो मेराज के हवाले से बहुत मारूफ है। सुभान अल्लज़ी, पाक है वो ज़ात, असरा बिअब्दिही लैलन, जो ले गई अपने बंदे को, अपने ग़ुलाम को रात के वक्त। सो दिस अ काइंड ऑफ लैल, और जो रात है वो अरबिक पोइट्री में it is something to do with mystery, something to do with secrets. So इस आयत से हमें पता लगता है कि the whole journey is about some secrets, and there is a kind of a passivity when it comes to Prophet. I mean, he is not going, he is being taken, so he is acting as a passive agent, not that he is going. सुब्हानल्लाज़ी असरा बिअब्दिही, वो ज़ात ले गई अपने ग़ुलाम को, अपने अब्द को। So the night, the passivity, because night itself is a symbol of being passive. Day is active, it acts upon you, and the night is time for sleep and sukoon and secrets and mysteries. So all these visuals are coming into the mind. Min al masjid al haram ila al masjid al aqsa. From masjid al haram, अब masjid is, जो लोग यहाँ पे कुरान क्लास में पढ़ते हैं वो अरबी से आशना है, मस्जिद इज़ ज़र्फ़, और ये सजदा मस्दर है जहाँ से निकलता है। मस्जिद इज़ अ प्लेस जहाँ पर आप सजदा कर सकते हैं। आई थिंक दैट प्रोवाइड्स यू अ स्पेस टू बाउ डाउन टू गॉड। अब मस्जिद इज़ अ वर्ड दैट वाज नॉट prevalent in Arabs at the time of the revelation, and this was a new coin for Arabs, masjid. I mean, when they talked about Khana Kaaba, they had three words. Either they would use Bayt, or they would use Kaaba, or Baytul Aniq. These were the three words they would use. So for Khana Kaaba, they never used the word masjid. और यहाँ पर जो अल्लाह कह रहा है कि सुभान अल्लज़ी असरा बिअब्दिही लैलन मिनल मस्जिदिल हराम इलल मस्जिदिल अक़सा, from one place of sajda to another place of sajda. So the beginning of Miraj and the end of the journey, they both have sajda as a start and as an end. And why it is? Because जो पहला वाक़या कुरान ने बयान किया है जहाँ से स्टार्ट हो रही है ये दुनिया, उसका ताल्लुक भी सजदे से है। इज़ क़ुलना लिल मलाइकति इसजुदू लिआदम फ़सजदू इल्ला इब्लीस। एंड रिमेंबर द टाइम व्हेन वी आस्क्ड ऑल द एंजल्स कि वो सजदा करें आदम को, ऑल ऑफ देम बाउड डाउन एक्सेप्ट इब्लीस। सो वो जो सजदे से इनकार था, दैट वाज द कॉज ऑफ यू एंड मी कमिंग हियर। एंड नाउ इसलिए इस्लाम में सजदे को बहुत ज़्यादा अहमियत दी जाती है, बिकॉज द होल यूनिवर्सल गेम बिगिंस with not doing a sajda. So we have to do sajda again and again. So every time we do sajda, we are actually going against the action of Iblis. और यहाँ पर मेराज में भी वो आपको इंटरप्ले नज़र आ रहा है कि मस्जिदुल हराम टू मस्जिद अक्सा, फ्रॉम वन प्लेस ऑफ प्रोस्ट्रेशन टू द अनदर प्लेस ऑफ सजदा। और इन दोनों के दरमियान ये पूरा जर्नी है मेराज का, जो टाइम एंड स्पेस के अंदर आज हमने डिस्कवर करना है। लेकिन कुरान ने जो सबसे ज़्यादा तज़किरा मेराज का एलेबोरेट और बहुत ही सिस्टमैटिक अंदाज में किया है वो सूरह नजम में किया है। व नजम इज़ा हवा, यहाँ से पहली आयत से लेकर 18वीं आयत तक लक़द रआ, कि जो मतलब दिस इज़ वेरी रेयर इन कुरान कि कुरान एक ही इवेंट पर कॉन्टीन्यूसली इतना कलाम करे। मेराज इज़ वन ऑफ दोज वेरी रेयर इवेंट्स इन कुरान कि 18 आयतें सूरह नजम की इसी एक वाक़े को इलेबोरेट कर रहे हैं, इसको एक्सप्लेन कर रहे हैं। एंड स्टार्ट्स विद वेरी स्ट्रेंज ओथ दैट गॉड इज टेकिंग। वन नजम इज़ा हवा, वाओ इज़ कसमिया, यहाँ पर जो सर्फ पढ़ रहे हैं हस्तों इसमें दिनो, दिस वाओ इज़ यूज्ड टू टेक एन ओथ। एंड व्हेन यू टेक एन ओथ, इट्स ऑलवेज द ओथ हैज़ टू पार्ट्स, द ऑब्जेक्ट ऑफ ओथ एंड द सब्जेक्ट ऑफ ओथ। द ऑब्जेक्ट ऑफ ओथ इज़ किस चीज़ पर आप कसम खा रहे हैं, एंड द सब्जेक्ट ऑफ ओथ इज किस चीज़ के लिए आप कसम खा रहे हैं. फॉर एग्जाम्पल इफ आई से हियर कि अल्लाह की कसम मैं यहाँ पर लेक्चर दूंगा. अब अल्लाह जो है दैट इज़ द ऑब्जेक्ट ऑफ ओथ कि आई एम स्वेयरिंग बाय गॉड. बात मैंने ये नहीं करनी, बात मैंने ये करनी है कि मैं लेक्चर दूंगा, बट टू ऐड मोर वेट इनटू व्हाट आई एम सेइंग, और इफ यू हैव एनी डाउट टू रिमूव दैट डाउट. एंड बाय द वे इन अरबिक कल्चर इट्स लाइक कसम खाना कोई इतनी बड़ी चीज़ नहीं है जितनी हमारे लिए है. एक अरब जो है ना वो यहाँ पर बैठा होगा कहेगा वल्लाह पंखे की हवा बहुत अच्छी आ रही है, वल्लाह आई लाइक दिस लैम्प्स, वल्लाह आई लव दिस पीपल. आई मीन लाइक दिस इज़ वेरी कॉमन. ये साउथ ईस्ट एशिया में हमें थोड़ा सा अजाब है कि हमारे लिए कसम खाना बहुत बड़ी चीज़ है. इन अरबिक कल्चर इट्स नॉट, इट्स अ नॉर्म. तो गॉड इज गोइंग विद दैट नॉर्म. वन नज्म एंड नाउ द ऑब्जेक्ट ऑफ ओथ इज स्टार. एंड व्हाट इज द सब्जेक्ट? इज़ा हवा. When it descends, when it disintegrates, जब एक when the star is dying, तो उसकी जो लास्ट डाइव होती है उसको हवा कहते हैं. अब जितनी भी कसम खाने का कल्चर है, यू विल अंडरस्टैंड इवन इन आवर कल्चर, आई मीन हम हमेशा किसी कामिल चीज़ की कसम खाते हैं. मतलब if if I have a fracture in my leg, I'm not going to say that मुझे अपनी टूटी हुई टांग की कसम है. No, I cannot. It's kind of demeaning, it's kind of strange. लेकिन अल्लाह यहाँ पर स्टार की असेंट की कसम नहीं खा रहा. वन नज्म इज़ा हवा, मुझे कसम है सितारे की कि जब वो डूबा, when it fell. So there is a oath of something falling. And this is the strangest oath in Quran. कि अल्लाह ने जहाँ पर भी कसमें खाई हैं हर चीज़ की, उसने अल्लाह ताला ने उसकी मेराज की कसम खाई है, उसकी परफेक्शन की कसम खाई है. वश्शम्स वदुहाहा वल-क़मर इज़ा तलाहा वन-नहार इज़ा जल्लाहा वल-लैल इज़ा यग़शाहा. यू कैन पूरे कुरान में आप देखते रहें कि हमें कसम है दिन की जब वो पूरी तरह चमक जाए, हमें कसम है सूरज की जब पूरे अरूज पर आ जाए, हमें कसम है रात की जब वो पूरी तरह अंधेरी हो जाए. तो तमाम कसमें जो हैं वो तकमील की कसमें हैं. बट दिस इज़ वन ऑफ द वेरी स्ट्रेंज प्लेसेस इन कुरान जहाँ पर सितारे की उरूज की कसम नहीं खाई जा रही, बल्कि सितारे के जवाल की, उसके ऊपर से नीचे आने की कसम खाई जा रही है. एंड इफ यू लुक एट सजदा, इट इज़ अ मूवमेंट डाउनवर्ड्स. नाउ आई एम कनेक्टिंग द टू आयात. सुब्हानल्लाज़ी अस्रा बिअब्दिही लैलन मिनल मस्जिदिल हराम इलल मस्जिदिल अक्सा. आप क़याम में खड़े हैं और आपने सजदा करना है, तो इट्स अ मूवमेंट डाउनवर्ड्स, इट्स नॉट अ मूवमेंट अपवर्ड्स. सो देयर इज समथिंग इन मेराज जिसका ताल्लुक डिसेंट से है. व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट मेराज, वी आर ऑलवेज टॉकिंग अबाउट द असेंट, द वर्टिकल असेंट ऑफ द प्रॉफिट to the heavenly spheres. We are never talking about the descent. So I will come back to it in the last part of my session to make you understand why God is doing this. क्यों अल्लाह ताला क्यों एक अजीब सी कसम खा रहा है, किसी चीज़ के जवाल की कसम खा रहा है. अब यहाँ पर जो मेराज है इसकी दो डायमेंशंस हैं कुरान में. देयर इज़ अ उमूदी सफ़र एंड देन देयर इज़ एन उफ़क़ी सफ़र. There is a horizontal travel in Quran of Miraj from Masjid Haram to Masjid Aqsa. This involves space. So he's going from Makkah to Jerusalem. And then there is a vertical ascent, जो सूरह नजम में आई है. वन्नज्मि इज़ा हवा मा ज़ल्ला साहिबुकुम वमा गवा वमा यंतिक़ु अनिल हवा इन हुवा इल्ला वह्युन यूहा अल्लमहु शदीदुल क़ुवा ज़ू मिर्रतिन फ़स्तवा फ़हुवा बिल उफ़ुक़िल आला. Now this is a vertical ascent. सुम्मा दना फ़तदल्ला फ़कान काबा कौसैन औ अदना अप टिल द यूनिटी. तो इन दोनों को हमने, नाउ द वर्टिकल असेंट इज सिंबल ऑफ टाइम, ऑफ एन इटर्नल टाइम, एंड द हॉरिजॉन्टल जर्नी दैट इज़ अ सिंबल ऑफ स्पेस. सो स्पेस एंड टाइम, ये मेरा हमारा मौजू है. टाइम हैज़ ऑलवेज फैसिनेटेड एवरीवन एज अ कॉन्सेप्ट. इट हैज़ इंट्रीग्ड philosophers and thinkers and theologians and Sufis. I mean, like right from the poetic narrations to very dry philosophical argumentation and very dry scientific fields. Everybody seems to be really attracted to time, the concept of time. What is time? We don't have a definition so far. I'm like the best definition we could come up with. But then we ourselves get trapped in that analogy and we never get out. So once we have used the idea of line to understand time, we cannot seem to get out of it. We are trapped. Any other definition or another concept of time for us will be totally absurd, because we are the prisoners to the analogy that we ourselves created. Well, time is time and line is line. I mean, line is being used as an analogy, it is not time. So the question is, what is time? That is the basic question that we have to address. And iski two dimensions hai, which we have to understand when it comes to time. Is time a subjective reality that is totally dependent upon me and it does not exist without me? Or is it an objective reality that has got nothing to do with me? It is something that is forced upon me. The way we are leading our lives nowadays, of course, the answer is yes, time is absolute. Time is non-reversible. It is linear. And I am subject to time. Time is like a tyrant, जो कि मुझे एक दिन ख़त्म कर देगा. It rules over me. And why we have this attitude towards time? It's because we are fascinated by speed. And we have this urge to do everything fast and to do everything in time. And you go to a factory, you're doing a job, there are timings that are fixed from 8 to 4, and now I'm delivering a lecture and I'm looking at the clock, it's 14 minutes gone and I'm still not into the intro. And it's from 7 to 8, I have to fit in all the 3,000 years of evolution of humanity about time, all the concepts. So, you know, I have this agitation in me, I have to finish it in time. And like, you know, even if you look at the automobile industries, I mean, which is the best car that goes from 0 to 100 kilometers in certain seconds? And who is the best workers who produce X number of things in an X number of time, X amount of time? So we have this over anxiety about time, and in this process we forget about time itself, and we don't have time to think about time. That is our problem. We are so much immersed in this frenzy that we have created for ourselves that we feel choked. We are out of space, we are out of time, we are breathless. We are just running on an empty tank. And we cannot understand time the way it makes us experience itself. We find ourselves in a place of dislocation and alienation, where time is something separate from me. That is why I thought that we should get back to people like Einstein and Mullah Sadra and Fakhruddin Iraqi and Ibn al-Arabi and to Miraj and to Aristotle. These people give us a different concept of time. And maybe it won't burden us that much. जितना हमारा modern time ने हमें burden किया हुआ है. I hope this comes as a breath of fresh air. और ये choke हम feel कर रहे हैं अपने आप को, I'm running out of time. We can somehow get rid of it. So that is what I thought I should talk about: time, space, and Miraj, the nocturnal journey. और यहाँ से we will go through an evolution right from Aristotle, because for me time is a kind of I don't have any other concept of time. I don't have another definition of time. But if you look at Fakhruddin Iraqi, he gave us an idea of uneven time. It's a very strange notion, uneven time. And for Fakhruddin Iraqi, the time was relative to the being, to the level of existence. For example, if I am living in this world and and my time is created by the movement of the heavens, the way I perceive time, does everybody else perceive it the same way? This is the question Fakhruddin Iraqi poses, and it's a very simple question, but it's very, very complex. You think that the way I perceive my day, a fly whose life is only 48 hours, she perceives the ticking of time exactly the way I perceive. This is a good question. And when I say that time is a measurement, what do I actually mean? And if you ask me how old are you, I can say I am 50 years old. Well, that is just one frame of reference. Because I am using the movement of sun to calculate how much time I have spent here. Now, for example, if I shift my frame of reference, I'm not now depending on the sun, and I say that, okay, I will measure my life in heartbeats. Now my life won't be 50 years. It would be a couple of billion heartbeats. If I am to calculate my life according to light years, probably I've lived 1.4 seconds. So when you change the frame of reference, you change everything. This is what we are going to talk about, and this is Fakhruddin Iraqi se maine start isliye liya because he is one of the easier person to deal with. So according to Fakhruddin Iraqi, it all depends on what level of existence you are in. Your perception of time, your definition of time, your reality of time will change. And from material beings to the non-material beings, there is a hierarchy. And in Islam or even in Greek philosophy, I mean, our problem nowadays, if you ask me, is that we always deal with sequences, we always deal with serials, we don't deal with essences. We are more focused on change. We are not focused on permanence. If you look at Greek philosophers like Aristotle or Plato, they were more interested in permanence. And what are the essences? We have stopped talking in those terms. We're always talking about change. Because we are too much connected to the material world. So we are always, even when it comes to time, we don't have any other way of looking at time than to look at the revolution of the sun. और ये चक्करबाजी जो है ज़मीन की और सूरज की, इसके अलावा हमें समझ कुछ नहीं आता. So I thought we would for 1 hour we should try to just look at ourselves from this and go into the world of Fakhruddin Iraqi, Ibn al-Arabi and Mullah Sadra and Aristotle. So first of all, you have to understand, for Muslim thinkers, their main occupation with time was not to understand what time is, but their main occupation was to transcend time. They used 2 words for that, Ibn al-Waqt and Abu al-Waqt. The son and daughters of time and the father of time. So the whole quest of Islamic Sufism, Islamic mysticism, Islamic philosophy, when it came to time, they were never interested in what is time. They were more interested in what lies behind time. So time was it has ascending hierarchies in which you ascend from this temporal limit and you keep going up and up and up, and eventually you get to what they called eternal now, the divine time, in which there is no passing. It does not allow for division into past, present and future. It is one moment that never passes. That was the main quest of all Sufis. And if you look at Quran has done the same thing. When it talks about walayat, it says, Ala inna awliya Allah la khawfun alayhim wa lahum yahzanun. Who are the awliya of Allah? Who are the friends of Allah? Who are neither scared of the future and they have no regret of the past. This is Ibn al-Waqti. When you become detached from the passing of time, you're not looking into the future, you're not looking backwards, you are staying in the moment. And this staying in the moment is what Ibn al-Arabi would call that time is. I'm trying to use proper English from Arabic. It's difficult to translate. मतलब Ibn al-Arabi के ख्याल में time is. It's neither was nor shall. And now, before I get you into this really complex stuff, let me discuss time and space a little bit from you from a very physical point of view, the way we experience it. Our understanding of time and space have really evolved over the last 3,000 years. I mean, when the physics started, we had this concept of space being a kind of a fixed container and the objects moving in it, and the movement and the thing that will move, that will measure that movement was time. The space had nothing to do with the objects in it. It was a constant. And time has nothing to do with it had only something to do with the movement of the objects. It had nothing to do with the objects. They both were fixed. It's like, the example would be like if you have a billiard table and you have balls in it. And you see at one, I'm going to give you two imageries. There is one picture in which you see there's a billiard table and there are like these certain number of balls and they are all arranged together. And then there is another picture in which you see that the billiard table is the same and the balls are the same, but their arrangement has changed. Their relation to each other has changed. Somebody hit them and now they're all scattered. So the space was something in which all of this was happening. And the time was an ontological tool to register what has happened, how the relationship of one ball to another changed. Something has to ontologically connect these two pictures. I mean, there is one arrangement of balls and then there is another arrangement of balls. So something has to happen to these balls that they change their position. So time was a measure of change. And like even Aristotle would say that the time is measure of movement. And even Mullah Sadra would say that time is the measurement of movement, al-harqat. It will always, the thing that measures the motion is time. But then in Islamic Sufism or in Islamic philosophy, there are motions within motions. I mean, there is a divine time, and then there is a second layer of time, and then we come to the third layer of time, that is us. And in each layer, the experience of time is totally different. But in science, our classical notion about time and space was that time and space are something that are outwards. They don't originate from me. They act upon me. Space provides me with a spatial location, and time provides me with a temporal location. And nothing to do with me. They were like aliens. The time was pressed on me, the space was pressed on me, and I was in this world. And in these two dimensions, I had to do whatever I wanted to do. But the paradigm shift came with Einstein. That is where it all started. Well, it's going to be boring for 15 minutes, so if anybody wants to sleep, they're not interested in time and space, they can just go to sleep. And then we can go to the lovey-dovey section later on. The paradigm shift came with Einstein. Because this is our, and trust me, even today when we think about time and space, we have a very classic notion. The real problem started with Descartes. And Descartes thought that everything was measurable in quantity. So if I wanted to find the truth, I needed to measure three things: the Cartesian coordinates, the depth, the width, and the length. If I am able to understand these three concepts or measure something, I will get to the reality of that thing. That was Descartes. And then there was this concept by Galileo of the uniformity of universal principles. According to Galileo, the principle would remain same, they won't change. If I'm feeling time here, and a celestial being will be feeling time similar to me, there will be no change. And then the synthesis of Newton, and we have reductionism. Now we are reducing everything. There's a psychiatrist with us. He will be able to understand or make you understand exactly what we have done to us in the last 200 years after Descartes. We have been reducing everything to physical bits. I mean, human beings have been reduced to hyperdeveloped animals. And animals have been reduced to complex arrangement of atoms. Even consciousness, what it is. It is a complex pattern of synaptic activity of brain, right? Even our feelings, what they are hyperdeveloped instincts. And what are instincts? Well, they are very complex arrangements of DNA. And what is DNA? Well, it's a complex arrangement of atoms. And what are atoms? Well, then we come to subatomic particles. And you know, at the back of it, I think it's a very spiritual quest. I know scholars are going to hate me for saying that, but science is always looking for the Jawhar, indivisible unit. That is why we are reducing everything, so we can get to that one subatomic particle that cannot be dividing anymore, so we can get to Tawheed. At the back of the mind, this is what driving. Maybe the scientists don't know, or maybe physicists don't realize, but this is actually their quest, to get to an element, or to get to anything which cannot be divided anymore, any further. So our जो reductionist हमारी जो वो impulse है उसको कोई सुकून आ जाए, कोई करार आ जाए. This is what we have done. इसीलिए आप टाइम को भी अगर देखें, from years to days, and from days to hours, and from hours to minutes, and from minutes to seconds, and then now from seconds to sub-second level. I mean, we have these stopwatches that after the dot they extend to like 300 decimals, and we are trying to measure who beat who by how many seconds, you know, or even how sub-seconds. We are all doing that. This is all part of reductionism. Now all of this was to change. This our concept of time and space was to change. By whom? By Einstein. He came up with this special theory of relativity, which he then expounded in his general theory of relativity. So according to Einstein, there was no fixed frame of reference for physical measurements. None. It was all relative. And he demonstrated it mathematically, that time and space, they were not two things. They were two sides to same reality. I mean, time and space were intertwining realities. One could not exist without the other. So all our physical models were flunked. The heliocentrism was gone. It was wrong to say that the earth is going around the sun, or the sun is going around earth. It was all relative. It was such a huge paradigm shift. We haven't absorbed it even now. Our conception of the physical world still remains Newtonian. It's very classic. We think we have advanced, we haven't. At least not at the general level. I mean, still if you ask somebody, well, they will say space is fixed and time is something that is pressed upon me, and I'm living in time. But if you ask somebody like Ibn al-Arabi, so he would say time is mutawahham, it's imaginary. It cannot exist without you. The time that I have on this earth is created by me. Time is not creating me. I am creating my own time. Space is not creating me. This is exactly what what Einstein was saying. That even if you look at time, even the concept of time is relative. Because the measure of time by Einstein was what? Light. 300,000 kilometers per second. That is the speed of time. That is the speed of time. But in a black hole where the gravity is massive, even the light will bend. And even the time will bend. And according to, and he showed it with mathematical precision, that even the space will bend according to the objects it contains. So actually objects were creating their own space, and beings were creating their own time. This is exactly what Fakhruddin Iraqi was saying 1000 years back, and now Einstein is saying. Our problem is when you look at Muslim thinkers, whenever they talk about time, they're talking about al-madda and al-ma'ad, the beginning and the end. We have somehow lost this thinking that we have to understand how time began, at least at the general level. We are not interested anymore. And according to Aristotle, if you want to know something, you have to know its origin. If we don't know how time started, we actually will never know time. And according to Islamic Sufis and Islamic philosophers, well, the time that I experience in this world, that they call it Kaunul Fasad wal Istahala, the world of corruption and generation, in their theory, everything that was time or space, they were one. Because in Akbarian philosophy or Ibn al-Arabi school of thought, everything, all the manyness has to dissolve eventually into oneness. All the time that we are experiencing which will actually dissolve into one eternal now. It's a moment that never passes. And our aim in this world, according to Ibn al-Arabi, is to live a temporal life and attempt to get to that divine now, that divine singularity, where the time does not pass. And for somebody like Mullah Sadra or Ibn al-Arabi, the concept was completely founded on this event of Miraj, where we will see how Miraj corresponds to time and space. So coming back to what we have done, we have stopped talking about the beginning of time or the end of time. And if we are not understanding it, we would never understand, according to Aristotle, what the time is. Actually, we will never get to the reality of time, number one. Number two, our main problem is we don't want to think on any other lines than we have developed about time, that linear flow of time, the irreversible flow. We don't want to think about any other model as well. But if you look at Einstein, he told us that all these theories about time and space and everything, they're just relative. I mean, even in quantum mechanics, the theory of parallel universes or the parallel time streams, they are just mathematical models. And within one mathematical model, you can prove one thing, and with another mathematical model, you can look at the same thing and prove it completely differently. They will have totally different results because everything is relative. So now if we go back to people like Mullah Sadra and Ibn al-Arabi and Aristotle, Aristotle said that the time was measure of change. And now I'm going to give you a imagery. For example, we all watch cricket, and there is this ball that is in the hand of a bowler, and then there is a second image. The same ball is in the hand of the wicket keeper. It's the same ball, the same bowler, same wicket keeper. What has changed? The placement of ball. So now something has to happen, that this ball has traversed from the hand of the bowler and gone into the gloves of the wicket keeper, and that thing that will measure it is time. And the distance between these two, between the wicket keeper and the bowler, is what we call space. I'm trying to make it very easy for me. Well, I've always tried to make things easier for me, and that it makes easier for others as well. So I'm resorting to analogies. So if this is correct, that time is the measure of change, and the space is that accommodates that change. So now coming back to Einstein, according to him, space and time were not two distinct realities. They were intertwining. It was the same reality viewed from two different angles. For example, imagine a world in which there is time and no space. And now imagine a world which has space and no time. If we have space and we have no time, nothing will change. There will be nothing for objects to change their position or their relation. And if there is no space, we don't have the Cartesian coordinates. We don't have depth and length and width. And if we don't have it, how would we even know that there is a time? So this is a bit complex, but you will get around it. So without time, space is not possible. And without space, time is not possible. According to Ibn al-Arabi, what is the reality? Now it's going to get a bit simpler. According to Ibn al-Arabi, what is the reality of this world? You have to understand the theory of Akbarian Tajalli, which comes from the word light. What is the foundation of time and space? Which he called the duration and distance. What is the reality? It's a Quranic verse that he quotes. Allahu nuru samawati wal ard. God is the light of the heavens and earth. Now this is amazing that Einstein is using light to prove time and space, and Quran 1400 years back is using light as a symbol, as a unifying principle of all creation. Allahu nuru samawati wal ard. For Ibn al-Arabi, this world is nothing more than the shadow of that light. This Kaun al-Fasad wal Istihala is a place where the interaction between the names of God take place. And their play is carried out here temporally. So I am here because God has knowledge of His name Al-Khaliq. We are all here because God has the knowledge of His name Al-Khaliq. He knows I am Khaliq, I am a creator. So if He knows He's a creator, He needs a space from where, in which He can place His creation, so that His awareness about Himself is actualized. Whatever, according to Ibn al-Arabi, whatever you see in this world is just a reflection of divine names. And His divine name An-Nur is the source of all time and space. If time is a measure of change and space is a thing that gives the opportunity for time to play and change things, then the light of the God in static mode is space, and the light of the God in dynamic mode is time. This is from Ibn al-Arabi, and generally is very complex. And I'm trying to make it as easy as I can, because there's so much running around in my mind right now. I have to deal with Harkat al-Jawhariya, and I have to deal with Ibn al-Arabi theory of Tajalli, and then I have to deal with Einstein, and then I have to deal with Aristotle. I just want to give you an overview. I think you're pretty much getting how our thinking about time has evolved over 3,000 years. It has evolved in one way, and it has not evolved in another way. That is now the brilliance, that is where the brilliance of Mullah Sadra will come. Mullah Sadra takes this theory of Khalqun Jadid from Ibn al-Arabi. For Ibn al-Arabi, this world was there because of the light of the God. When God wants to spread His light spatially, He creates distance. And when He wants to spread His light vertically, He creates time. So these are two extensions of the same name of word An-Nur. And this is the same thing that Einstein used to understand time, the light. Now, according to Ibn al-Arabi, what was time? It was not linear for Ibn al-Arabi. It was tawahum. It was a waham. It was imaginary. The time that I feel, it is my time. It is subject to me. And he gives a very simple analogy that if you are sad, the time stretches. And if you are happy, the time shrinks. I mean, any physicist can argue with me that no, look at 60 seconds, still it's 60 seconds. And still it's 24 hours. You are just, but this is what I'm feeling. This is my subjective knowledge. That whenever I am grieved or I am sad, the time just seems to just stretch and stretch and stretch. And whenever I'm so happy and excited, I mean, the weekends are the shortest. Aren't they?
For sure.
So if time was a reality apart from me, this shouldn't happen. This unevenness shouldn't happen. Why is time moving so fast for me sometimes, and why it is moving so slowly for me? So according to Ibn al-Arabi, this time was actually dependent upon me. My subjectivity, I was creating my own time. Like Einstein said, and even in Harkat al-Jawhariya, like Mullah Sadra said, that the objects create their own space and their own time. It's not that something is being forced upon them. They are creating their own time. They are creating their own space according to the level of being they have achieved. I know it's complex. It's extremely complex. But you will get around it. Don't worry. So, according to Ibn al-Arabi, what was the reality of time? According to him, it was one moment. He took this idea from Quran of Khalqun Jadid, the renewed creation. Every second that passes, the whole universe is dead. And it requires renewal. So every second, the next second, we again need a renewal from God. So the time doesn't pass. It's just the concept of renewal. Khalqun Jadid. So we are created afresh every second. We are being created. The time is not acting. God, the light of God is acting. And now here it comes the most beautiful part, that according to Ibn al-Arabi, that God is a constant light in this constantly changing world. There is a constant and there is change. And there are these two experiences that everybody has. There are things that change and there are things that do not change. That is where the theory of time of Muslim Sufis lie. They call them as-sawabit and al-mutaghayyirat. The things that change and the things that are fixed. You can see in yourself, well, I was a kid and then I was a boy and now I'm a man and then hopefully I'm going to be old. But something continues. Something continues. There are things that are changing and then there are things, I'll give you a very funny example. For example, if somebody has murdered somebody 25 years back, for example, and he was all young and everything, and then there was court proceeding and it went on and on and on, and it took 25 years to decide. And after 25 years, the judge says, okay, hang him. And now it goes to judge and he says, oh, you are mistaken, I'm not the man who murdered that guy, you know. You can get my tissues examined in the lab. I mean, like, all my tissue is gone. Even all the cells that murdered that guy are gone. I mean, like, in a couple of years, even my skin changes. And everything has changed. I mean, there's not even a single original cell that was used to kill that guy remains in me. Judge क्या कहेगा तेरी साइंस अपनी जगह दिया था अपनी फैसला अपनी जगह. Because there are things that have changed and then there are things that haven't changed.
You say the person will kill what we knew at all.
Exactly. So what has not changed is sabit, and what has changed is mutaghayyir. So according to Mullah Sadra, in this world there are two kinds of things. Things that change and things that do not change. And because of these two things, three relationships are possible. The relationship of changing with the changing, the relationship of changing with the constant, and relationship of constant with the constant. No fourth relation is possible. He makes it so simple in Harkat al-Jawhariya and in theory of time. He makes it so simple. कुछ चीज़ें हैं जो बदल रही हैं, कुछ चीज़ें हैं जो कायम हैं, बदलती नहीं हैं. एक रिश्ता है जो बदलने वालों के दरमियान, जिस तरह मैं और आप हैं. एक रिश्ता है जो बदलने वाले का उससे है, जो साबित है, जो चेंज नहीं हो रहा. और तीसरा रिश्ता है जो साबित का साबित से है. So according to Ibn al-Arabi, now I will infuse both of them. According to Ibn al-Arabi, जो साबित से साबित का relationship है, that is eternal now. That is what he calls sarmad. सरमद. हमारे उर्दू में वक्त के लिए दो लफ्ज़ इस्तेमाल करते हैं, वक्त और ज़मान. और ये दोनों जो हैं we have borrowed it from Arabic. In Arabic, in Quran, there are many labels for time. There is asr, there is dahar, there is sarmad, there is heen, there is amad, there is ajal. Oh, the list goes on and on and on. And they all are different. They are not the same. They all are different. अब इब्न अरबी और मुल्ला सदरा के मुताबिक जो मेरा relationship is between two things that are changing, that happens in zaman, in the world of generation and corruption. That is my relationship with you. Then there is an upper layer of time which is called dahar. Quran mentions dahar twice, and Quran interestingly mentions sarmad also twice. Because for Muslim thinkers, why they said that the time was subjective, it was not objective. It was very important for them, because if you absolutize time, you will create an idol out of it. Time will become your God. And this is exactly what happened to people that Quran refers to as Dahriyun. Dahri, the people who worship time. So Muslims were very careful not to absolutize time and consider it subjective. So now, the first, our experience of time is in zaman. It is a relationship between two beings that are changing. Sun, moon, you, me, sun and earth, everything is changing. They are all mutaghayyirat. And our relationship, when we experience it, we call it zaman. And then there is a second layer where the changing interacts with the constant. And that in Quran is called dahar. हल अता अलल इंसान हीनुम मिनद दहर लम यकुन शैय्यम मज़कूरा। अल्लाह फरमाता है क्या एक लम्हा दहर में इंसान पर ऐसा नहीं गुजरा जब वो नहीं था। It's a very strange ayat, very very strange ayat, and I will make you understand how we can understand it in the context of Miraj, because I have to sum it up, I know, running out of time. And then there is Sarmad. Sarmad is God's relationship with his names, and that is the creation house of all creation. That is the Noor, that is the light, that is the constant, that doesn't admit any divisibility. For God there is no past, there is no present, there is no future. Everything is summed up in one eternal now. For example, if you look at the knowledge of God, I gave you the example of a cricket ball, one in the hand of the bowler and then in the hand of the wicketkeeper. God knows both, because he is not in time. He is Sarmadi, because Sarmad is something that is eternal, and Quran uses the term Sarmad twice. कि अल्लाह फरमाता है कि इन जअलल्लाहु अलैकुमुल लैला सरमदा इला यौमिल क़यामा, और दूसरे कहते हैं इन जअलल्लाहु अलैकुमुन नहारा सरमदन यौमिल क़यामा. If I were to make night stay forever, sarmad is forever, and if I were to make the day for you last forever till the day of judgment. So sarmad is something that doesn't change, that doesn't admit any divisibility, any category. It is one eternal moment that will never pass. Now, Zaman is something that I am experiencing, and Dahar is something the angels are experiencing according to Quran. Their one day is equal to 50,000 years of mine. They are so subtle. They move at such speed, because according to Einstein, and it has always been, it's been done physically as well. If you have two clocks and you place one clock in a spaceship and it goes and it orbits around the world, the clock up above will tick much slower than the clock here, because according to Einstein, the way we move in space changes the way we move in time, because they were not two realities. So with the change in one, the other has to change. If I use speed, space will change. If I use space, time will change. So there are two clocks that you have regulated and compared completely, and then one you place in a high-speed aircraft, and it goes and it circles in the orbit. When it comes down, it would tick slowly as compared to the clock that is on Earth. So that is the sphere that Quran calls Dahar, the sphere of angels, of heavenly beings, of less material beings or non-material beings. It's a level of existence that they experience time, but at a much slower rate. We experience time at our rate. They experience time at our rate. And then there is Sarmad, where the time never passes. That is the source of Khalqan Jadid, of renewed creation, where we are being renewed with that one moment. You have to understand, time is Sarmadi. And by the way, so are you. The problem is, you're only focusing on your physical being. You're not focusing on your spirit. You have that Sarmadi spirit. Spirit never gets old. I mean, my spirit is the same when I was young. My spirit is the same when I'm getting old. My spirit is the same if I am sinning. My spirit is the same if I'm being virtuous. If I'm doing right, it's the same spirit. If I'm doing wrong, it's the same spirit. There's a constant within me. There's a sabit within me. And that is timeless. Because what am I? This spirit, it's not mine. It comes from which source? فَنَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي. And I blew my spirit into him. So that is the sarmad that we all have to explore. This is the eternal now. If you get to the core of your own fuad or your own heart, the whole life will be just one moment. And this is exactly what happens in Miraj. Now you have to understand. पहला जो आपका सफ़र है मस्जिद हराम से मस्जिद अक्सा, it is in space. It's in space. And when he is even when he is going towards this, so Prophet says कि मररतु अला क़ब्र मूसा فَهُوَ قَائِمٌ يُصَلِّي عَلَى قَبْرِهِ. When I was moving towards Jerusalem, I passed by the qabr of Musa. And this is a Sahih Hadith. In all narrations you can find it. And I saw he was standing and he was praying in his grave. So you have to understand what, in relevance to our talk, what it's saying. There is a word within word. There is a motion within motion. There is a reality within reality that we don't want to see. Because because scholars have told us, I'm not Sarmadi, I'm temporal being. And I'm trapped into what they have said. I cannot break free from it. Now here is a prophet. The Miraj is a perfect event which is showing us that there is a Dahri element even in Zaman. So he's seeing Moses and then he's passing and then he goes to Jerusalem. And what happens in Jerusalem? All these prophets that were dead apparently are there to welcome him. And he's leading their prayer. This is such a beautiful event. If you look at in time and space, there is a Sahib-e-Zaman prophet and then there is Sahib-e-Dahar. The prophets were dead. I mean, two words are coming together. You have to understand. The Zaman and Dahar are coming together in a space called Baitul Maqdis, the sacred mosque, the sacred place जहाँ पर आप सजदा करो. एक को यहाँ से साहिब-ए-ज़मान को लेकर जा रहे हैं और दूसरी तरफ से 1,24,000 अंबिया को जो दाहरी हैं, were of course gone. They are being brought. And now this guy from Zaman is leading them in prayers. And then his ascent starts. وَهُوَ بِالْأُفُقِ الْأَعْلَى. He is going up and up and up in a vertical line. The first was horizontal. Now this is vertical. Because he has to get to the hierarchies, through the hierarchies of heavens and get to that presence. Because according to Mullah Sadra, the presence was existence. It's such a beautiful concept of Mullah Sadra that we will explore someday. That what do you mean by existence is actually presence. So now he is going into the presence of the God in such a way that if you look at Miraj, ahadith of narrations of Miraj, you will understand that 14 years have passed there. He has been visiting all the heavenly spheres and then from Sidratul Muntaha to Arsh and every place. And he was there for 14 years. But when he comes back, only 2-3 seconds have passed. So you can well imagine the speed he is traveling at and the kind of subtle being he has become, that the time has just slowed down for him. That shows us why there are 3 layers of time according to Muslim philosophers and Sufis. Because they take all of their knowledge from this event of Miraj. First, Zaman and Dahar is coming together, and now he has come to this place which is Sidratul Muntaha, which is a tree. And if you look at the concept of tree, even if in Surah Najm, Allah says ke, in the Sidratul Muntaha, in the Jannatul Mawa, is Yakhsas Sidrata Ma Yakhsha. He came to this tree and something, और किसी चीज़ ने लपेटा उस दरख्त को जिस तरह उसने लपेटा. I mean, there is always, I mean, when you talk about how God treats time, it has something to do with rolling up. Even on the day of Qiyamah, what is happening? يوم نطوي السماء كطي السجل للكتب كما بدأنا أول خلق نعيده وعدا علينا إن كنا فاعلين. He says that I'm going to roll everything up on the day of Qiyamah. There is a concept of rolling up, of bringing things together in a roll. And time and space will only exist if they're spread out. I mean, this carpet is spread out. So if I were to measure the space, this probably is 6 feet from here to there. And if he was to walk from here to here, it will be the time that will tell me how long he has walked. So the time space are there when they're spread up. And when you roll them up, because they are one reality, if you roll up the space, the time will roll up. And if you roll up time, the space will roll up. In Miraj, both things are happening. You have to understand. He is now at Sidratul Muntaha, and Sidra or the tree itself brings opposites together. Well, tree has a grounding and it has a growth. It represents both movement and lack of movement. I mean, you have this tree, you cannot move it from here to there unless you transplant it. I mean, अगर आप उसको उखाड़ोगे तो वो मर जाएगा. But it remains stationary in one place, but at the same time it's growing. So the movement and lack of movement both come together in a tree. And जब वो सिदरतुल मुंतहा पर पहुँचते हैं, so then जिब्राइल stops there. और हजूर कहते हैं कि भाई तुम अब रोक रहे हो, उठा के ले आए हो मुझे मक्का से, and why are you stopping here? So what he says, लौ दोनों तो वन बोलतन लाहत रख तो. If I would to move just by a tip of my nail, I will be burnt. This is what Jibreel is saying. I cannot go any further. This is not the place for me, because Jibreel is not Sarmadi. He doesn't contain the Spirit of God. You have to understand, it is only man that contains the Spirit of God in a form that it is Sarmadi. Nobody else contains that. And now he is saying, and then Prophet, whatever, he just goes to God. And now, if you look at Miraj, it is a folding up. You have to understand, it's everything, because you know when he's traveling in time, even the space is, there is so much gravity that both space and time are collapsing. This is Maqam Kaaba Qausain in a physical terms. Summa dana fatadalla faqana qaba qausaini aw adna, and he became so near that like दो कमाने एक दूसरे पर चढ़ गई हैं. There is no difference between time and space. They're just packed together. They've gone into a singularity. And what happens in that singularity? और क्या खूबसूरत ये इमाम तबरानी की हदीस है कि आप फरमाते हैं कि अल्लाह ताला ने अपना हाथ मेरे सीने पर रखा, मेरे दोनों शानों के दरमियान रखा, जिस तरह का उसका हाथ है. And it doesn't have a physical hand. And Prophet says कि फवजत्तो बरदहा फी सदराया, and I felt the coolness of that hand in my chest. And in chest you have heart, and in heart you have that spirit of God, that Sarmadi spirit. And then it's a very strange hadith, and he says that Inna Allah qad rafa alayya dunya, and God rolled up the worlds for me. अब यहाँ पर जो लोग नहव पढ़ रहे हैं, it's very interesting. You have to look at this hadith from ilm balaghat, not from ilm nahw. क्या आ रहा है? इन्ना अल्लाह ताला क़द रफ़ा माजी का सीगा है. क्यों भाई? माजी का सीगा है रफ़ा. अल्लाह ताला ने बुलंद किया दुनिया को मेरे लिए. फ़अंज़ुरू अलैहा. अब यहाँ पर आना चाहिए था फ़नज़रतु, माजी का सीगा आना चाहिए था, लेकिन यहाँ पर मज़ारे आ रहे हैं फ़अंज़ुरू. तो बलागत का एक असूल है, याद कर लीजिएगा, उलमा ने आपको नहीं बताना. जब मकाम जुमला फ़ेलिया का हो और उसकी जगह जुमला इस्मिया आए और उसकी ख़बर मज़ारे हो, तो इसको हम दवाम तजद्दुद कहते हैं. इट्स डिफ़िकल्ट प्रिंसिपल, आई मीन लाइक इट्स वेरी डिफ़िकल्ट, बट यू जस्ट क्रैम इट टू इम्प्रेस समबडी. जब मकाम जुमला फ़ेलिया का हो लेकिन जुमला इस्मिया आ जाए और उसकी ख़बर फ़ेल मज़ारे हो, तो इसको हम दवाम तजद्दुद कहते हैं. अब ये मकाम यहाँ पर जुमला फ़ेलिया का है लेकिन जुमला इस्मिया आया है, इन्ना अल्लाह क़द रफ़ा, और उसकी ख़बर होनी चाहिए थी माजी में.